Welcome to Clapback Get the Facts podcast, where we are providing you with the information you need to know about what's politically impacting Black women across the country. In a world filled with mis and disinformation, we provide you with the real. If you're a Black woman, representing Black women, or in the community with Black women, we are here to clap back and give you the facts. Thank you for joining episode 9, Biden versus Trump. Black women react to the first presidential debate. We will be sharing the facts and dropping gems. So let's get ready to clap back, get the facts.
Well, welcome. My name is Holly Holiday. I'm the president of Sisters Lead, Sisters Vote. And hopefully you are in the right place because we are ready to clap back, get the facts. This is the podcast. If you can believe it, you are joining us for episode 9. Oh my God, I can't believe we're almost in double digits. And boy, has there been a lot going on. We had the nerve to try to take a little vacay and we come back and whoo, Lord, politics is popping. And so, of course, we have to do what we do and make sure that you have the information that you need. Today, we're going to talk about Biden versus Trump, Black women's reaction to the first presidential debate. Hopefully, you were watching on Thursday, June 27th. We're going to be here to share the facts, which they didn't do a whole lot of on the debate stage. Drop gems, and let's make sure that you have what you need to give a real perspective of what's going on out there. Let's face it, this debate was highly anticipated. And if I can say anything about this debate going into it before we get to what happened, I can say that I think both sides had really high standards for their candidates, whether you supported President Joe Biden or Donald Trump. You were really looking for your candidate to show up and show out. Well, we'll find out what Black women thought about that. We know that there's been a whole lot of information that has happened since the debate. But let's hear from Black women in order to get reactions from Black women and what we thought about the debate. You know, I have to bring up our co-hostess with the mostest. I'm going to start with our very own Simone Henderson, repping it for the young Black women out there. Hey, Simone.
Hey, Holly. Hey.
Hey, well, we can't do it by ourselves. We got to make sure we have yet another opinion. So let's bring up that Southern diva, Chantel Mullen. Chantel, welcome. You just don't mute today. Okay, no problem.
You know what? I got way too much going on over here and absolutely nothing at the same time.
Okay, well, we need to be in this conversation because the folks want to know. I mean, you know, we are a week away from what was the first presidential debate. I think that we have heard a lot of reaction. Luckily we were able to co-host with the National Council of Negro Women. Shout out to Siobhan Arline Bradley, the president, as well as Power Rising. Shout out to Leah Daughtry, and host with some of our good sister friends, Melanie Campbell, Joteka Edie, our friends at NAACP, and more, like kind of instant response. But let's face it, sometimes we need to marinate. So now that we have done that, now that we've heard from the media, now that we've seen all the things and Twittered all the tweets and X and all the X's, I don't know, it's still Twitter to me, gone through the clapbacks, seen the TikToks, heard from a few of our friends and family. What are your thoughts today about the debate? What are your top lines out of the debate? Simone, let's start with you.
As we said, there has been a lot for us to sit on and think about. I think we've all, over the week have had, or the past few days have decided, and we know that it was not a good performance for either candidate.
Yeah.
There's so much chatter about the health, the this, the that, and very little. I think we're trying to recenter the conversation and the substance of what was talked about, but right. I think that's getting drowned out with a lot of noise. And I think we have to go back to thinking about, okay, what's really at stake here? Are we going to let a performance of what this looks like really dictate, our outcome of when there are such drastic differences. And we're not just talking about how fast somebody walks across the stage, but literally the status of democracy come January of next year, and the implications of who we elect in November. I think the first thing out of the debate was that, no, I think that you were absolutely correct. They did have high standards for their candidates going in. And I think from what we hear out of, Trump's team, that they did a lot more prep than I think that they've done in previous years for debates, and tried to, we're muting mics because someone lacks self-control. So I think we have put so many things in place that we try to make this the most substance-focused debate. But once again, we're sitting here talking about the aesthetics of things.
Yeah, that is sad coming out of this, especially when there's so many things that are on the line. Chantel, what say you?
Well, I've had a moment to marinate.
What's happened in the marination moment? I can't wait to hear.
Well, you know what? I've got a different perspective.
Okay, good.
Because I was in Atlanta, and I was at one of the Atlanta watch parties. And so I will say, I'll start with the obvious. Biden did bad, but I look at folks and say, what debate have you ever seen him in where he looked good? He's never been a great debater. And if you've never been a great debater and then you've gotten older, you're not going to get any better. That's the first point. My second point is I have to reconcile what I saw on the stage with what I saw in person. Because I saw Joe Biden after the debate.
Yeah.
Because he came to the event where I was. He was on stage. And I'll just tell you, when I saw him on stage, he's not comfortable on stage. I don't care how many times he's been on stage. He's not comfortable on stage. But then I saw him get off the stage.
Right.
And he got on to where he is the most comfortable, talking to people. He worked the rope line. And when I say both he and Dr. Biden worked the rope line, she swooned. She kind of went on through she shook some hands, took a couple of pictures. She smiled, she grinned. She did the rope line. He did the rope line. It took him about 20 minutes or so to get to where I was, and I was probably dead center.
Wow. So he was like shaking hands, kissing babies, having conversation, doing the thing on the rope line.
He was. His Secret Service was prepping people.
Okay.
Because I was about 2 or 3 people back.
Okay.
And I still made it up to talk to him.
Oh, wow.
They came through and said he wants to talk to as many people as possible. After you take your picture, you say hello, please rotate out so somebody else can come to the front. So I was able to move up and he stopped, he talked. I had on my vote necklace. He said, I like that necklace, ma'am. And we just talked. He gave me a little hug. We took a picture, but he was energized.
Yeah.
I left before he left. He was still, he was still in the rope line.
Yeah.
And I had walked to the back of the room, talked to some of my friends. He was still there.
Yeah.
And so I have to reconcile that he had this terrible performance on stage, but then he got off the stage. He did this long rope line.
Right.
So that was at least an hour and a half. He was over there fooling with us.
Right.
He left there and went to Waffle House.
Girl.
And saw the people. And, he did a 4-part dap with the brother coming through the door.
Listen, I ain't even mad. Go ahead with your 4 parts.
And, I can't even do that. I'd have been like, sorry, bro, I messed that up. But then he got up and he flew and went to another city. Now I'm gonna just say this. I was traveling too. The next day I was in bed all day. I had got off the plane the night before. I had gone to the debate, a couple of other things. He did all of that and was rolling. So
Chantel, I gotta tell you, that's what, whenever I hear comments about stamina and how he looks, I haven't done advance and traveled with him.
Yes, talk about it.
Let me tell, anytime I hear critique, my first response is that there is no one that I know that could keep the pace of travel like a president like him. And for him to be doing it at 80 something, I can't do that pace of travel.
Just 80. Don't make it bigger than it is.
Right.
Just 80. But traveling, I mean, I don't think people really understand the pace and cadence of what he does every day. That, I mean, we go on a vacation and we put an extra PTO day on the end so we got time to recover. There is no recovery. It is up and you are on a flight, new city, new country every single day. And how tiring is that for somebody under the age of 80? And he is doing it every day.
Girl, I was tired.
I'm
nowhere near 80.
I tell people, get his schedule for a week. Try his travel schedule for 1 week and see what that feels like. And I just don't think people understand just how intense what he does is, the pace that he goes.
And he's doing it. And you know, and they're making all of these jokes, but truly, folks have not really, his folks have not done a good job of selling that. I'm gonna just tell y'all, if y'all working over there, y'all, I'm gonna need y'all to do better, because y'all need some storytellers, or you need some sister girls over there that can help y'all tell this story a little bit better. That's the thing. But you know, once the debate was over, truly we should move on.
Yeah.
Because the level, and this is my problem. And I'm going to go back to 2016.
Oh Lord, we're going all the way back.
Yeah, because the past informs the future.
Okay.
If you go back, all of the data points that we have say that the press covered Hillary Clinton's emails disproportionately to everything else Trump did. You know, Trump's behavior was normalized and downplayed because so much emphasis was put on a particular thing. Go back to where she got sick and she coughed and, it's so bad that our candidates can't even mention being sick because the press goes into a disproportionate level of coverage.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm just saying that I'm not mad that they're covering it. I'm just saying that the coverage is disproportionate, and it's disproportionate in response to that there was another person on that stage who was flat, bold-faced lying, who was saying,
and even on the age tip, you know what I'm saying? I mean, first of all, let me say this. I agree with you all wholeheartedly. I want to add this perspective. We have got to get out of aesthetic politics.
Yes.
We have got to get out of aesthetic politics. It is disrespectful. People who have stutters, people who have disabilities are just as competent and capable of holding down leadership positions like president as people who present with great articulation. The other thing is, nobody is president alone. And it really bothers me that we find these things to pick at, and this is for both Republicans and Democrats, and we know we see it in Black women, and we just pull it apart.
Mm-hmm.
And in the case of Biden, I think this age thing, and we've said it before here on this show, this age thing to me is really a low-key code to talk about, are you ready for a Black woman president?
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody's talking about Trump's age, and he old too.
3 years younger.
Listen, he's 77 years old.
They was in high school at the same time.
76. People are falling over after it. You are within the range. And I'm not suggesting that either of them are at death's door. That's not the point. The point is that, to your point, it's like unequal and it's a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
And when we are talking about all of the things on the table, I need particularly Black women to be smarter. Every single person I know, and I suspect that's true for you all too, and maybe this is a gross exaggeration, but listen, I got people in my family who are 80, who are still working every day, who are not just working, but in leadership positions. And I'm glad that they're there. Listen, not just because of their age, but because they know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, we are at a time such as this that we need somebody who understands the system, who knows how to pull the levers, and who brings the experience of getting it done. Now, that being said, I think my overall position on this debate, just to throw my 2 cents in here, is, listen, when stuck between a mumbler and a liar, I'm going to choose the mumbler.
That part.
And I think if you want to boil it down to the aesthetics, you had Donald Trump not answering the questions, which, again, I think a lot of this was a setup because there were some rules in the debate that I think were asinine. So amongst the debate rules, and I think that unfairly they tainted the way that the American public looked at this debate. First of all, when in the hell will we be expecting people to walk in and be able to answer any question that you could possibly ask about the American presidency and what the presidency controls, and you're not allowed to bring in any notes? Why not? If I'm sitting at my desk and I have world leaders bringing me information, am I not going to have a briefing? I don't want nobody coming up with no answers off the top of their damn head. Get a damn note. This is an open book examination. I don't even get why that was a thing where they were not just. And frankly, I think that this speaks to, and so you think about the debate prep style. Biden wanted and sought to bring you real information.
Yep.
And once he got past, and I actually think he started poorly and ended better, because he got into giving us information and focusing on the question and not being distracted by the foolishness that was happening on the other side of the stage. I think Trump actually ended worse than Biden on this respect, because he just stopped answering the questions altogether, to the extent that he was ever answering them at all. And the reality is, I think they purposely prepped him to just repeat the same note every single time, no matter what was asked. And it was his script was insult Biden, talk about how great he was. It doesn't matter about what, just make it up. He made wild statements like there was no terrorism in my administration. I'm sorry, but just me as a Black person, domestic terrorism fueled by hate went up damn near 30% in his administration.
I just have a quick question. Is this our Black job?
All right, listen.
Yes, girl.
Black job. Yes. And I think my favorite on that piece, thing that I've seen is that my Black job is voting. And it's interesting that took off like wildfire. I'm seeing that now on everybody's page. So shout out to the Black people who recognize that if nothing else is happening, we're going to vote. But I want to get back to these rules. So first of all, they were not allowed to bring in any notes, which made no sense to me.
None.
And I think that's why on the Trump side, we saw no facts because he can't remember nothing either. Let's be honest. I think we would have seen a lot less lies if a brother had a crib sheet. I'm just saying. The second thing was that they agreed not to fact check either candidate during the debate. I think this does a disservice to the debate as well, and to the American people who are sitting there wondering, why are you letting them get away with this foolishness on both sides? I think that I'll be honest with you, I'd be interested to hear as it relates to both the rules, but also, like, to me, some of this debate was terrible because the moderators were really subpar, in my opinion.
They were terrible.
Okay.
They were garbage. They were trash. Dana Bash, Jake Tapper, trash.
Well, how do you really feel, Chantel?
They were horrible, but they're horrible on TV every day. I watch CNN to see what they're talking about. They're trash every day.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Jake Tapper had Ezra Klein and Carville on. Both of them waxing poetic about Joe Biden needs to step down, And when he asked both of them how and who, they had no response. Right. Now you have these folks on TV saying that these folks should step down. Press them on the issue. Can this actually happen? But also, Jake Tapper needs to know the rules. And nobody informed themselves around the Democratic candidate process.
Right.
You know, we had this whole fight over pledged and unpledged delegates back in 2016 and all of this stuff. That stuff ain't happening, by happenstance. There's a whole set of rules.
Yeah.
So y'all are just walking around pontificating.
There it is, the pontification of it all.
That's all they're doing. They're literally talking, and all of their stuff is clickbait and drama, and they're driving the narrative more than it's like the emails. They're driving the narrative, and they're not owning it.
Yeah.
But they want to say, oh, but the people, you know what? Folks went on about their business, because one stat that I saw that I meant to send to you is Brian Stelter, who is worthless as well. But he did do one good thing. He got up and he was so pressed that he looked at all of the newspapers, the Sunday newspapers. He found a few that had it, and he posted those, and I think it was maybe 6 or 7, like the AJC had a call for Biden to step down. AJC catching some heat because they reposted it and put it above the fold on Sunday. And there were a few other places that had that, but he looked at over 300 local newspapers. This was not on the cover of any of the local newspapers.
Right. That's crazy.
So they are driving it. Literally, they're covering it ad nauseum. The Supreme Court stuff dropped yesterday. They covered it for 5-10 minutes and went right back to Biden.
Yeah.
So the coverage is disproportionate.
Yeah.
It truly is.
I think it would have been great to have them actually share the rules at the top of the debate. I feel like you had to be an insider or a real news nerd to even know the rules of the game, to even be able to evaluate this foolishness. What are you thinking, Simone? What do you think about that? Moderating rules.
No, I agree. And I think, as you hit at the top of the episode, how different this is and how much we talked about leading up to it. And I think some of that analysis, they drew a lot of contrast back to, or comparison back to, the Nixon Kennedy debate, and how they, whether or not, if you were watching it, you thought that Kennedy won, and if you were listening, then you thought that Nixon had won, and what did this mean based on the new rules? And we go around the world with it, and then we get here, and it's like all of that kind of went out the window. We stopped talking about why this debate was so different. What about it was making it so different? Why it was essentially pretty much one the first and only of its kind, is not being run like anything else. And if that is such a historical point that we reference, is that Kennedy-Nixon debate being the first and how decisive it was, why wouldn't you present the audience with the information that way they can evaluate it the way that they need to, if we're talking about equal, understanding of what's going on and making sure that the voters understand.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think let's be honest. Obama did not do well in some of his debates.
Correct.
And I think we have put a lot of emphasis on what's happening on this debate stage. Like even the fact that it's still getting news coverage is baffling to me. Because
disproportionate.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what we need to, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, because and I just want to say that Obama tanked his first debate, no doubt. And he still won re-election. In fact, he's tanked his first debate during his re-election campaign. It was in his own words, it was a stinker, and he still won. And I think that, one of the takeaways is the debate does not make the campaign, and certainly does not make the election. I want to pivot to something that you've been really thinking about, Simone, as we've talked about kind of like the misconceptions. What are some of the key misconceptions that you think people have coming out of this debate? Maybe the debate fueled misconceptions that we had before we went in. If there's one like misconception that you wish was cleared up by either Trump or Biden, what would you want that to be?
I can only have one.
I mean, we ain't gonna be here all night, Simone. Come on.
Yeah, no, the misconception that I think we really have to pay attention to and address is this notion, and you all tapped on it, of, well, if Biden steps down, what does that look like?
Yeah.
An alternative candidate. That's not how this works, people. That you just don't get to say, not you, this one. We've had primaries in every state, Super Tuesday, and the caucuses and everything. That was just for fun and games, and people's votes didn't matter. We have elected, voters have put forth that they want Biden to represent the Democratic Party in the general election. That is how that works. As Chantel hit, there's a rules process. There's a convention. You just don't get. If that were all the case, we wouldn't do anything else. And I think that's the largest misconception, is that it is as simple as Biden just backs out and we just either put Vice President Harris up there or someone else. That's not how this works. Not a possibility. And more importantly, that's not what the American people have already chosen, who they have already chosen that they want to represent them.
Chantel, what about you? What misconceptions would you like to correct?
I'm right with Simone.
Okay.
Because and interestingly enough, I feel like she was eavesdropping on me in a conversation I was having right before we got.
She might be.
Because one of the things I think would help all of this is information, and we have to think about this in a couple of ways. And probably of the three of us, I don't know about the rest of y'all. I am actually a Democratic Party member. I am a state committee member. I am a officer in my local county party. Yeah. I am a member of our state our state committee. And so when I look at this, I think about it from two different perspectives. As a party member, there's stuff that I know, and I didn't know it before I became a party member. And I know that there are some party members who don't know as much as I know because they haven't taken the time to sit down and read the bylaws, read the delegate selection plan, read the convention plan. These are all three distinct documents. And how people become parties. I have a whole chart that has all of the ballot deadlines for every state. It's just because I'm a nerd and that's the stuff that I do. And what it takes to get on each and every ballot. Yeah. And I'm tracking who's on the ballot.
I mean, really.
And so, you know, we have voters, but then we have party members who are also voters. So I think as party members, we need to do a better job educating the general public. So the things that Simone talked about, what is that process? Because people, if you educate people, when folks jump on TV with this foolishness, they can say that ain't true.
Yeah,
that's not how this works.
Yeah,
you know, we will say that ain't right. But we haven't given people that level of information to help them out. And I think we need to do a better job of doing that. And we're going to continue to see the misinformation and disinformation where there's gaps of information.
Look, I agree with you a little bit. I think that the information definitely should be readily available. And I think that I am not a party member and like that, but I would say I do think the information should be readily available. And I think for folks who have made a commitment to be a part of an organization and a structure and a process, that there should be some intentionality to make sure that those frontline folks are certainly informed. But when I'm thinking about the media and particularly the talkers and the pundits, I think they need to do a better job of persuading their point. Mm-hmm. You know damn well, I'm cursing, it's bad. You know damn well that, as Simone articulated, that we are way past choosing different nominees for either party. Lord knows I want a different nominee than Trump, because at least I would feel like, you know, we could have a good conversation about issues. Whether I agreed with them or not, I think it's a disservice to the American people to not have someone competent running against Biden who can have a real exchange of ideas. We are not getting that. And I think that is a disservice. However, to have somebody like frickin' Carville, who knows this ain't about to happen, fuel that narrative, should be slapped. It's just straight up slapped. And
dead in the mouth.
I just need to punch you in the mouth real fast so you can sit your butt down. I've been watching The Boys on the Prime Video, and the Prime, one of the big characters, Butcher, he just goes around, and when people say stupid stuff, he just sits them in the mouth. I feel like that sometimes watching this, and I think we've got to do a better job on the advocacy front. We've got to it certainly should be based on information that is factual, but we've got to move beyond just being information sharers. We've got to be advocates, and we've got to give people advocacy language so that they recognize not just the information, but how to persuade and how to get other people engaged and why this information is important to them. I knew this subject was going to be hot. We are running a little bit long, but listen, I cannot end this conversation without saying, ultimately, what it's about is voters. And we got to give some perspective, I think, particularly Black women voters. What do you feel like Black women voters are doing now? What role should they play? You know, how do we keep them engaged? Maybe they're already engaged. What's the message that we walk away with from this debate for Black women voters specifically?
I got to say, we have to keep perspective on what the bigger picture is. The bigger picture is that democracy is quite literally at stake with this election and the potential outcomes for it. And it's not about one performance. It's about the legislation that they intend to enact, that they have enacted, and the character that we see about the candidates that we have before us.
Chantel, what's your takeaway for Black women voters?
Here's my takeaway. Here's how you know there's some bullshit.
All right, what is it? Come on now.
Because the same folks calling for Joe Biden to step down as the candidate ain't making the same argument as him as the president. He is still going to work, working every day. And they say, "Ooh, he doing the job just fine. I don't think he should run." If you really thought it was that serious, you would be lobbying folks to say he needs to go home now. Which lets me know that they don't. They just don't want him to go. And why they don't want him to go, I think the real reason is what I told my neighbor the other day. When he asked me about the debate, and he said, "Do you think Biden is fine to be the president?" I said, "I do." And he was like, "So, but what if something happened to him?" I said, "He got a VP. That's what they made for." So if he make it past the election, and I'm not wishing nothing bad, he gonna be just fine. But I'm just saying, they just want him to walk away, because what I also see on social media is a additional rise on the attacks of the VP. And you start to see she not strong. She's inauthentic. She's da-da-da-da-da. Despite the polling that leaked today that says she the best candidate to run against Trump if it's not Biden. And
just the post-debate polling that was leaked through Puck said that people actually like her now more than Biden. I don't think that's gonna hold, but that's a fact right now.
And I don't think that that's what the folks who causing all this ruckus meant to do.
No, and I think that's fine because they're running as a ticket.
And
you know, my last little bit is Black women, recognize your power. Don't let these folks tell you you got to settle for anything. Black women are a powerful coalition. We are the number one coalition. And if we break, ain't nobody getting nothing. So, you know, we can speak up in a different way. Because if we walk away, I don't care who they put up there. And I'm a go on and roll call. Gavin Newsom, sit your ass down. Gretchen Whitmer, sit your ass down. We ain't voting for you either. Westmore, I love you dearly, but no, not right now, boo. My good senators are gonna stay put over there in Georgia. Old boy over in Illinois, hell no, we ain't voting for you either. So please understand, we will break hard. Y'all need to quit playing with us and playing in our faces, because we understand what we bring to the table. Well, none of y'all white folks be back in the White House if y'all not talking to us.
And that, I think, is the clapback. Thank you, Chantel, for that moment. I'm just saying, I think she has made it clear. Here's all we need to do, folks. We are this is the call to action. We are calling on the sisterhood to clap back against this idea that anyone except for President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris will be the Democratic nominee for president and vice president, period. Put the period. In fact, forget period. Explanation point. Explanation point. We already know. The good thing about this race is, and I implore you to think deeply, we know what a Trump presidency looks like, and we know what a Biden presidency looks like. Never before in our history have we had the luxury of having actually had two former presidents, a president and a former president running against each other. The decision is clear, but more importantly than who you decide to vote for today, I need you to stand up and clap back against the foolishness. We do not have time for the distractions, sisters. So the sisterhood, let's clap back against this notion that the nominees are going to be anybody but President Joe Biden, Vice President Harris, and unfortunately but true, former President Trump and whoever the heck he gets to be on his ticket. That is more to come in a couple of weeks. We're going to be getting close, and you can bet we'll be right here on Clapback Get the Facts to talk about it. Until then, thank you for joining us. It has been our pleasure to have this very lively discussion. If you haven't already, definitely follow us on our YouTube channel, Sisters Lead, Sisters Vote. Find us on social media so that you always know when a new episode of Clapback Get the Facts goes live. And you want to definitely stay tuned because our next episode, we're going to be talking about the Supreme Court. Y'all, we did not forget, and we are watching, and we got to deal with this immunity. So that'll be on our next episode. Until then, we'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you for joining us here on Clapback Get the Facts podcast. We hope that you're leaving feeling more informed and ready to provide others with the facts. We would love to hear your biggest takeaways from this episode. So post the show on your Instagram story and tag us at Sisters Lead. Also, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. And while you're at it, please leave a review so others can get some sense of the facts that we're providing. Finally, if you would like to learn more about local resources and other projects we're working on, go to sistersleadsistersvote.org.